2017 has been a different kind of year for California water. Rainstorms continue to pound the state. Rivers are spilling into bypasses, and farmlands all over the North State are flooded with excess water. Unfortunately, the vast majority of this excess water is flowing down the river, through the Delta, and out to sea. If this much-needed winter has proven anything, it's that California needs more storage. In the past year, Sites Reservoir has emerged as the leading storage project to be funded by Proposition 1. That's according to lobbyists working in Sacramento. And extended wet periods like this are more proof at how valuable the off-stream reservoir could be.
It's really the flood flows that we're trying to capture. This is, when the river is swollen like this and when it's overflowing into the bypasses, this is an excellent time for us to grab these flood flows out of the river and store it so that we can use it throughout the year.
Back in mid-January, Assemblyman James Gallagher brought 15 members of the California State Assembly up to Colusa to lay eyes on the excess river water, visit the site's basin, and learn more about the project.
And especially when we're in a drought like we've been in the past 4 years, we could have 500,000 acre-feet a year that would be excess water that we can use to deal with all the issues that we're dealing with when we're in scarcity.
As the day went on, they started to see how sites fit into the overall water system and how we could provide benefits. By the end of the day, there seemed to be positive support. We actually had one representative saying that they would go back and find out why their local water district, whether it was interested in participating or not.
There's plenty of reasons to like the Sites Reservoir project. It's big. Peak capacity is 1.8 million acre-feet, with a projected average annual capacity of 500,000 acre-feet. It's north of the Delta. It's positioned near the GCID and TC canals, which means much of the necessary infrastructure already exists.
Sites is unique, and probably unique compared to some of these other projects, because it does have that flexibility to grab water, retime it, to take water that's off of other unregulated tributaries at different times of the year. It's very powerful, and I think in that way, Sites is really going to rise to the top.
If Sites does rise to the top, the state will have access to a block of water upwards of 250,000 acre-feet, which would be exclusively theirs to use for whatever environmental needs the state deems a priority.
I'm not aware of any concept within the state of California where a dedicated supply of water for the environment exists, certainly not in the quantities that Sites is able to produce.
So the way that would work for Sites is there'd actually be a contract very similar to an investor where the state of California would own a part of the project. So that gives all kinds of flexibility that the state doesn't have through their regulatory processes right now.
The state resource managers would have a dedicated supply. They would be part of that process in deciding how much water, when, for what priority, how would that fit into an overall operations scheme, and then be released on a pattern that achieves those objectives.
They're an owner, right? As an owner, you have the ability to call for that water when you want it. You have control, right? So you can possess that water, you can move it around through the system, and then you can turn it into an asset. The other regulatory processes on existing reservoirs, you just have the ability to have a requirement from the operator, which it just plays out very differently.
I think it was one of the innovative parts of Proposition 1 was allowing the state to actually acquire the ability to manage water for the environment, especially given an uncertain future.
Ownership has its privileges, and in this case, with Sites, the state is buying the privilege of owning and operating water however it deems fit. The list of viable scenarios is infinite.
It's the ability to adapt, right? So as we learn more and more about the fishery needs, they know that they have an asset that they can count on and that they can use in multiple ways. They can't be that responsive through the regulatory process. So having this asset, I think, is going to give them a lot more flexibility, a lot more capability to improve the abundance of fish in our valley.